All right, so now I'm going to be covering pretty much the takedowns and the ground game. Now, so right now I'm going to have Dizzy fatigue himself. So throw as many punches as you can, Dizzy, right now. So you throw all these punches, throwing. The reason I'm having doing this is because if you end up in a situation where your opponent is gas like that, if you hold LB and LT and shoot for a takedown, certain wrestlers will have certain animations. You do that, bring him back to the middle, circle, and boom. Matt Hughes has that special animation where you just pretty much, it's like a, I guess, I don't know what they call it in wrestling, so it's like a high crotch but pretty
Oh,
much,
like a backflip.
unique animation. Certain Most wrestlers have like the same animation, but Matt Hughes has this one in specific. Also, you can get the animation also if your opponent does like a very poor job, pretty much like not denying the takedown. If he doesn't deny it at all in terms of like trying to fight it with the rotation, you'll get that animation as well. So you got that with the takedowns. Now let's go to the ground here. So I'm gonna break down the ground from full guard all the way to pretty much like full mount, whatever. So go to full guard, Dizzy. All right, so I'm in full guard, right? I'm postured up. Now, full guard is a good position in this game, but it's not the best position in terms of you're on top. So if I'm striking to the body, if your opponent is striking to the body, even if they hit you once or twice, the guy on the bottom can transition and kick you off of them. So right now, look, I'm spamming to the body. Kick me off of you. Next time,
Okay.
boom, boom, boom. Okay, you see now, like even if I was punching him to the body, like he can still kick me off. But if I punch him to the head, he can't kick me off. You see how he's trying to transition? He can't. So the best thing I would recommend for new players or even veteran players or players who are good at the game is mixing up the body to the head. Because a lot of the times you'll just have the opponent on the bottom will just be blocking the head, right? So they're just waiting to get like one or two punches to block, and then they'll transition out of there. Boom, he's out of there. But if you mix it up, two to the body, one to the head, or or if you start using your feint and you go body, feint to the head, body, feint. So it all depends on like how you utilize the feints, the body work, and mixing it up to the head. Same concept of working the head to the body in the striking. If you work the body, open up the head, vice versa. So full guard's pretty straightforward. It's not the most dominant position, but it's a good position to be in. Now, so if you advance to side control here, or this is half guard actually. If you're in half guard, this is a good position, but you're more susceptible to get in reverse. So right now, if Dizzy, who's my practice dummy right now, if he had someone who had good jiu-jitsu, he would hold LB and transition, and pretty much you'd get like some type of sweep where you see him drag his hand under the knee and pretty much like flip him over or whatever the case may be. Different jiu-jitsu guys have different reversals from that position. So what I would recommend when you're in half guard is you want to land maybe like one or two shots before you're back on like glued to him. You don't want to like punch too much in this position, because sometimes the game kind of is weird in this position where if you land even like a punch or two, so like I'll land a punch and sometimes like the person on the bottom going for that sweep transition, sometimes it like the punch doesn't register, and they'll just like his sweep will register before your punch hitting. It's very weird to explain, but if you're in this position and you're on top, just make sure you are punching maybe once or twice before you're back, either holding him down or looking to transition. You don't. That's the half guard is one of those positions you don't want to just be sitting there the whole time. It's not it's not a very dominant position from on top. Very reversible. You have to be very careful on being reverse. Okay, so now going to side control. Side control is the most dominant position on the ground. Why is that? Well, you got your strong knees, you got your elbows, you can even throw elbows to the body. Now, the elbows to the body are good, but like I wouldn't recommend throwing them, because the same thing I talked about, how with the body punches in full guard or anywhere pretty much on the ground. If your opponent's punching you on the body and he's on top of you, it's a free transition or a free kickoff. So it's, you have to really be like worry on like what punches you're selecting to use on the ground. So what I would recommend doing is knees and headshots or elbows to the head. Now, also, if you have someone like Matt Hughes who has crucifix, all you have to do is hold LB, which is just L1 on PlayStation controller, and transition. That's it. Now, this is Pride Rule, so you're going to see him throw punches, but if this was UFC, you see him throw elbows. And one of the things I see a lot is like somebody will get the crucifix, or like maybe they don't know you can do this, but if you get the crucifix, right? I punch, and he gets out of it, immediately go for it right away, because there's a very small window where the guy on the bottom has a time to reverse it. So more times than not, you're going to end up back in that crucifix, and it's just going to be a constant cycle. So make sure if you're choosing someone who has crucifix and you're in side control, mix up your knees and eventually work the knees to get to open up to get the transition for the crucifix. Let's go to Mount. Mount here's pretty straightforward. You know, it's just same concept as full guard, or same concept as full guard, but obviously you're gonna land more damage. Also be worried, some guys on their back on full mount have like major transitions where they can either flip you on full guard or even have like these butterfly guard, or they'll pull you back into full guard using like a butterfly guard. So just make sure you're like, the best advice I would say is when you're on top, doesn't matter what position, don't throw too many strikes. I see a lot of guys throwing like 5 shots at once. You don't need to throw like 5, 6, 7 shots, because what ends up happening is you end up with low stamina, and then the guy on the bottom goes for a major transition, whether it's like a sweep like that or a takedown sweep from there. Some guys have takedown sweeps from full mount, side control. You just make sure you're not throwing too much from the bottom where your stamina is lower than what it should be. And then so you got that right. So you got this. You got the clinch. You could take him down. Let that reset there. Let me actually turn off the damage real quick. Okay, so you're there, right? Now, same thing. You want to use knees here. If your opponent has them, throw your punches, knees. Now, this back sitting position where you can like flat them out or whatever, or go for a rear naked choke, or go for these punches. This, to me, is not a good position. So, because it's so easy to get out of. It's one of those positions where if you're on top, or even if you're on bottom, it's almost like the guy on bottom is at an advantage, because it's almost like a guarantee that he's gonna get up if the guy on top stays here. So if you have a guy on top of you here, and he's just punching, it only takes like 2 to 3 punches if you're just patient. Let the person land a 2 to 3 punches on your block and transition. It's a free get up every time. Just be patient. Let the person throw 2 to 3 punches and make sure you're blocking them, because if sometimes for new players, like they'll get in that position and like they'll try to like they'll block one, and then they'll try to transition too early, and then they end up getting hit with 2 or 3, and then the next thing you know, they're rocked. So just make sure. Let me put him back there. Make sure you're just right now you're just focused on blocking. And then once you block 2 to 3, transition out of there. Don't be too eager to get out of it, because like I said, it's a lot of new players. They get put in that position and they start like almost panicking, and they end up taking unnecessary shots that they should have been just, if they were just patient, they would be blocking it and then getting out. And that's pretty much it as far as the ground. Now, if you have a wrestler and a guy shoots on you, so shoot on me, Dizzy.
Cool.
Actually, no. Wait, I'm gonna shoot at you. I'm gonna shoot on you. You deny. Put me in sprawl. So if you have a wrestler, right, and you shoot on someone, and they put you in that sprawling position, hold like LB and like flick the right. There you go. So if you're Matt Hughes right now, right, you're the wrestler, and the guy's here. If you can get the timing right, and you feel like he's not denying it, you can just hold LB in transition. Now Matt Hughes has that slam. Not everybody has that slam, but most wrestlers will end up on top, whether it's a slam like that or it's just like he would just shoot for a takedown and immediately put him in full guard. So if you're in that position, hold LB, transition, and if you're a wrestler, you'll end up on top. There you go. That's about it for the ground game. Yeah.